Welcome to the Living the Empowered Life channel. My name is Yvonne, and this channel is all about bringing you content that is empowering, encouraging and inspiring. On this channel I share tips and things to help you to live an empowered life. Stuff to do with personal development, motivation, inspiration. I also take you out and about with me when I go to places of interest. And also as well, I share book reviews of books that I've read in case you want to go and check them out yourself. So if this is the type of content you're looking for, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you do like the content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. So guys, it has been a little bit of a while since I've done a book review on this channel. I am now trying to slowly get back into doing book reviews. I've become a bit more consistent in reading books. I think I kind of fell off a little bit after I did my master's degree in February 2024. I think after doing all that research reading, I found it very hard to get back into a rhythm of reading the books that I like. And I have done a few book reviews since that time, but I haven't really been doing them as regularly as I would like. So today I'm going to be doing a book review of a book that I purchased called Slight Edge. I bought this book in August 2023 and I paid £15.14 for this book. Now if you have followed my other videos on this channel, you would know that I always say I like to thrift books, I like to get books for as cheap as possible. I am always looking for new places to get books and spending like next to nothing on them. But with this book Slight Edge, I had been watching this book for ages. I had it in my Amazon wish list for about a year. The first edition of the book, or the first run of this book, sold out quite quickly, and I was checking every now and then after that to see if it came back up again. And then in August I saw that the book had come back out and I decided to purchase the book. And Slight Edge basically is about turning simple disciplines into massive success and happiness. So Slight Edge is basically about a way of thinking, a way of processing information that will lead you to the success and happiness you desire. So this is what, in a nutshell, this book is about. Jeff Olson shares his story of how he came up with the Slight Edge method, and it's through learning and making mistakes in his own life. In chapter 1 of the book, The Beach Bum and the Millionaire, Jeff talks about how at different points in his life he was a beach bum and a millionaire and how he lost his money. He went through his beach bum years, in his earlier years, dropped out of college and really didn't have an aim for what he really wanted to do. You know, he kind of took some courses but then didn't see them through, and then he took some time out to go surfing and, you know, just having kind of more like a kind of relaxed life. He did things like being a golf caddy, you know, carrying golf bags for people who played golf whilst he was trying to earn a little bit of money and, you know, enjoy his time. He then eventually went back into education and, you know, he got his qualification. I think it was in marketing or sales or something. And basically he worked really hard and became a millionaire. And unfortunately he lost it all again. And one of the things he was saying in this chapter is that the reason why he went from one extreme to the other because he wasn't actually consistent in the things he was doing. So in the down times he wasn't consistent in certain actions he was taking, and then in the times when things were really good, it was the same thing. There came a point in his life where he calls it the day of disgust, and basically what that means, the day of disgust, is when you get to a stage where you become sick and tired of being sick and tired. You become disgusted with maybe the way your life's going, the things that you're doing, where you're headed to. And that's what happened for him. You know, that was the turning point for him, where he just got sick and tired of certain things that were going on in his life. So he then goes on to describe the problem that him at one point in his life had and what he sees thousands of other people doing. And he has a background as well in personal development amongst many other, you know, endeavors that he's successfully done. But I'll just show you kind of a little picture here, and he shows here like this kind of graph where in the middle is just survival, and then at the bottom it's got failure, and people go up and down on the road to failure. So, you know, 1 minute they're doing okay, the next minute they're failing, and it's up and down all the time. And basically he said that he began doing a systematic review of his life and taking a very good look at his action and results. And this is what he said he saw. He said, when people are looking down the barrel of failure in their lives, they will do whatever it takes to get there moving, anything, to start climbing upward towards the point of survival. And then once they get to the point of survival, where they're keeping their heads above water, they start heading back down again. As they start getting close enough to failure line, they can see it coming. They go, whoops, I'm heading towards failure. And then they do whatever it takes to turn that trajectory around and start heading back up. And so the cycle repeats. So as I just showed you there, this is what he's talking about, this failure line that people seem to go up and down with most of their life. And he said that's what he was doing, and that's what many other people do. They spend their entire lives doing this, oscillating between failure and survival, striving towards success and maybe even reaching a level of success, but then inevitably turning back and heading downward again. He then says that people do this in the areas of their finances, in their health, in their relationships, and in their lives as a whole. And I can definitely resonate with that because, for example, for me, over the last 3 or 4 years, I have had this up and down cycle in the area of my diet and weight gain, losing weight, putting it back on and stuff. I'm finally starting to turn the corner, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you how this book has helped me in a little bit. He then goes on to explain the solution. I'll just read what he says here. The point was that I stumbled on as I began examining my failures and successes. What I gradually realized was that the very same activities that had rescued me from failure, that had carried me from failure line up to the survival line, would also rescue me from average and carry me from the survival line to the success line, if I would just keep doing them. So that's the other chart that he shows there about the success line and the failure line, and the line in the middle being survival. And this is where the slight edge philosophy that Jeff Olson created comes into play. And he's given examples of this in things like taking a few dollars out of a paycheck and putting it in savings and leaving it there, or doing a few minutes of exercise every day and not skipping it, or reading 10 pages of an inspiring educational life book every day, or taking a moment to tell someone how much you appreciate them and doing that consistently every day for months and for years. Little things that seem insignificant in doing, yet when compounded over time yields very big results. You could call these little virtues or success habits. I call them simple daily disciplines, simple productive actions repeated consistently over time. That, in a nutshell, he says, is the slight edge. Now, as I just mentioned earlier about how I've seen the slight edge work in my life, I read this book back in February, and immediately straight away I started to see some of the things that I was kind of doing wrong. Because for me, I've always been somebody that kind of looks at things in a way where I like to see big results. Like, I don't mind doing the steps, but I expect to see big results. And I realised that actually that was a very unhealthy mindset to have, because then when I was making like small steps in doing things, I wouldn't appreciate them, and those were the most important things to appreciate. So for example, when it's come to my kind of battles with weight, I had started to use the slight edge methodology and put that into my thinking. So what I've started to do is to start to appreciate the small steps and the small consistent things that I've been doing that have been bringing results. So far, so good when it has come to my weight journey, and I've started to adapt it in other areas of my life. So again, with my book reading, where I'd fallen off reading my book and would want to read chapters at a time, because I know that in the way things are in my life and how everything is with me being busy with work and stuff, it is just better to do small and consistent. So I've set myself a target of reading 10 pages of a book a day, and it is a manageable thing that I can do every day. And what I like about the slight edge philosophy that he talks about, it is about doing something and committing to it. So whatever it is that you commit to doing it. It doesn't even matter if it's not the amount you want to do in whatever thing it is. It's about doing the small, little, consistent actions daily and continuing to do it, because after a while, whether it's weeks, months or years, you will see momentum. There's one important ingredient it says you have to find the path of success. You have to back it up with one more step. And he said it is the attitudes behind the actions, and it's called the philosophy. So he says that is the missing ingredient, and that is the secret ingredient. And as a matter of fact, it's the first ingredient. So basically, he gave some examples of philosophies, like do the thing and you should have power. That is an example of a philosophy, and that is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. He also gave another example of a life philosophy by Thomas J. Watson, the founder of IBM. And his is, the formula for success is quite simpler: double your rate of failure. I have my own philosophy that I made up after reading this. So my philosophy basically is to do the things that I need to do, whether I feel like it or not. And that is very hard to do. And I've started to apply my philosophy because I don't want my moods to dictate what I do and what I don't do. So for me, it's very important, whether I feel like it or not, to do it. There's been times when I'm exhausted from work in the evening. I don't want to finish my 10,000 steps for the day, but I push through it. The first 10-15 minutes is hard because I'm tired, I'm going slow. But after a while, I'm in it, I'm doing it, and it kicks in, and I just get on doing it. So he's talking about whatever your philosophy is, that is going to be the attitude behind your slight edge to the things that you do. What I love about the book is that he actually walks you through everything that he explains to do with the slight edge. Not only does he explain it and show you where people kind of fail in other ways when they don't apply this kind of simple little disciplines every day, he also shows you how to apply little disciplines every day, and he gives good examples. What I do like, at the end of each chapter, he shares stories of people that have adapted and used the slight edge methodology in their lives. These are people who are doing things like trying to lose weight, coming out of depression, people who have tried to get into business. And it's just really encouraging to see the stories that has been shared, and how the reader of the book who's sharing their story, how they've applied the slight edge methodology to their life. At the end of each chapter as well, if there are things that you can't remember, he does do a little summary of essential points at the end of each chapter. So this is like for chapter 1. And obviously he just shares, some takeaways from the chapter. The same activities that take us from failure to survival will also take us from survival to success if we keep on doing them. There is a beach bum and a millionaire inside each one of us. What makes the difference in how things turn out? You do. That's what he shares at the end of the chapter. There's so much more I can say about this book, but it is one of the best personal development books I have read so far. I have read quite a few. I said to you about The Magic of Thinking Big was a great book for me. Barbara Cochrane's Shark Tales, again, was another great book. I have been reading some really good books, but I definitely will be reading this book again. I'm going to share with you just a couple of other things about this book. Doing things consistently is the message, really, this book brings you, whether you see results or not, because he's saying over time, compounded, doing the little and small things regularly, over time, whether it's months, years, later, you will start to see the results. One other important point that I want to share with you before I go is what he shared about time. It really stuck with me and helped me to realise that it is important to do those things consistently, because time is either going to be for you or against you. He says time will be your friend or your enemy. It will promote you or expose you. I just absolutely love this little quote from the book because it is so true. What have you been doing with your time in terms of the things that you are trying to change in your life? If you are not consistently doing things, obviously time will expose you. But if you are doing things, those small little consistent habits each and every day, then it will promote you. And I've held on to that from reading this book, and it's something that I'm going to make sure I keep in mind as I go on my journey. As I said, this book is a really good book to read. I love the length of the chapters. I like the fact that he included examples. Everything is explained really clearly. You know, there's so many great chapters in this book. You know, so much I could talk about from this book because it had so many truth nuggets that could be applied to life. But the biggest one for me that I've taken away is to do small consistent things daily, and I've applied that to my life and I've seen results, and that is what I'm going to focus on. I would recommend that you get this book, because this book is going to help you if you're somebody who is always going on this kind of roundabout of failure, survival in whatever it is you're doing, whether it's saving money, weight loss, you know, whatever it is. This book is going to help you to straighten that out. It certainly helped me. It helped me to change my mindset towards how I think about success and how I manage my time to do things consistently. I will leave a link to it in the description box below. So until the next video, take care.